morning, STEM thinkers and doers. I'm Dorinda Risenhoover. I'm the Education Coordinator for the NASA Oklahoma Space Grant Consortium. And this morning, I have an assistant with me.
Good morning. My name is Kyla Risenhoover, and I'm a junior at the Oklahoma School of Science and Mathematics.
Excellent. And as you heard, the NASA Oklahoma Space Grant Consortium, that's who I'm with, and I oversee their NASA OKSG STEM Engagement Center. Now, NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Yep, you heard that right. We're one of the partners with NASA. And today, like I get to do on many days, we get to bring STEM to you live to your home. Usually I'm doing it in professional developments with in-service and pre-service teachers and students in classrooms. But now we get to do it a little bit differently. So I hope you have a great time joining in this demonstration with us today, in which we're going to look at aviation and some principles that lead us up to how and why airplanes can fly and why they have what we call lift. All right, so let's get started. We're first going to start with some things that we call properties of air. So the first thing that we're going to do is Kyla is going to grab our bottle. And what you can see here, you can do this at home, it's just an empty 2-liter bottle, and it has a balloon inside of it. And we just put that balloon inside of it where the hole, so you can actually still blow into the balloon. So Kyla, I want you to blow up that balloon for me. You ready? Go. Come on. It's not going up. Blow harder. Kyla, come on. You got this. What is happening, Sister Man? It won't blow up. It won't blow up. Oh my goodness. Well, why won't it blow up? Well, there's a really good explanation for that. You see, there is air all inside this bottle. This bottle is full of air. And when she tries to blow up that balloon, all she could do was just blow up just a very small little part of it, right? Because what would happen is that air would push against it, and she couldn't blow air into that balloon because all of this air inside the bottle took up that space and was pushing against that balloon as she was trying to blow into it. So what this tells us is one of the properties of air. We're actually going to look at 4 of those properties today. And the first one is that air takes up space. So that we know that air takes up space because she could not blow up this balloon, and the air was pushing on that balloon and not allowing it to happen. So air takes up space. All right, let's look at another one. Kyla, I am going to give you the straight pin. And what we're going to do is we are going to balance this on my finger. Okay. And what I've done here is these balloons are about the same size. What you say, Kyla? They're about the same size. They have about the same amount of air. I've taped them to either side of a yardstick so you could recreate this. And Kyla has a straight pin in her hand. So I'm going to just make sure it's balanced. Of course, when you want to do this fast, it doesn't go as fast, does it? I feel like they're balanced now. On your mark, get set, go, Kyla. What happened? The balloon got popped and it went down. Oh my goodness, so this balloon was popped, all the air and all the weight was released out of that balloon, and this balloon that was not popped, but still had the weight of the air, it went down. So what we know now is that air has mass, okay? So when I took away the air mass up here, it unbalanced my measuring device, and the greater weight went down. So we know that air has mass. Can you say that with me? Air has mass. Excellent. So we know that air takes up space, air has mass. Now let's look at another one. I'm going to take a fan. You could do this at home too. Kyla is going to put her face close to the fan, but not too close, right? Okay. She's going to be careful. And we're going to turn it up all the way high. Kyla, move closer, just a little bit closer to that fan. All right. So, audience, or STEM thinkers and doers, can you see that her hair is moving? Kyla, can you feel that air?
I can.
She can feel that air, and it's moving her hair. Thank you very much. So now we know that air moves, or we can feel it, okay? Air moves, or we can feel it. That is the third property we're looking at today. Now let's look at one more property. I have a variety of experiments that we're going to use for this particular one. So for this first one, I have a container which is a little over half full of water. Then I have a cup, and this is just a plastic cup. It could be a glass cup or a full cup at your house. I just have a ton of these that we use over and over again for all of our experiments. And then a piece of paper, and I'm just going to pull or tear some paper off of that. And you could also use tissue paper, scrap paper, whatever you have laying around. But I'm going to crumple that up, and then I'm going to take a piece of tape. Any kind of tape will work. And I'm going to take that in the bottom of my cup, just like so. If you can see that, all that's going to do is keep that paper in here when I do this next part, so it doesn't fall out before everything occurs. So I'm going to place this upside down, and I'm going to immerse it into the water. Now, Kyla, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the paper's going to get all wet.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, let's see what happens. STEM thinkers and doers, what do you think is going to happen out there? All right, let's find out. Let's see if you guys are right. Kyla, does that paper look wet to you?
No, it looks dry.
Oh my goodness. The paper's dry? Let's check it out. The paper is dry. So what happened there? Well, this cup is full of air, even though we can't see it. Air is all around us, guys. It is all around us. And it is also in this cup and all around that crumpled piece of paper. So as I put this cup into the water, that air that was inside the cup, it pushed or exerted pressure upon the water and pushed the water out of the way, which meant no water went inside the cup. Let's see that one more time. No water goes inside of that cup because the air pushes the water away and only leaves the air and the piece of paper inside the cup. So now we know that air exerts pressure. Can you guys say that with me? Air exerts pressure. Excellent. You guys are so smart. Okay, so now I'm going to take the paper, and you can see it just got a little wet if I turned the paper sideways. But you could do this at home. It's kind of like science magic, and you could wow and impress your family members at home. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing that we're going to do is Kyla is going to take the straw, and she is going to put her finger over the straw. Yeah, and well, first you're going to get water in it. Yeah, and then she's going to put her finger over the straw, and she's going to lift it up. Okay, so when she lifts it up, the water's not falling out, is it? No. Wonder why that is. Well, let's see. Just a minute ago, we said air exerts pressure, right? So when Kyla puts her finger over top of this straw, what she is doing is she's blocking off the air or the pressure of the air that could be going down upon the water. So the water stays inside here. Underneath, the pressure of the air is forcing it up and keeping it inside that straw. So it's not going to go out because of how she set up her system. And so air is exerting pressure upon it right now. Now, if she comes over to this cup and she lets her finger off, what happened then, Kyla?
The water came out.
The water came out. What happened was she opened that system. Yeah, go ahead and put it, let's show them one more time. She opened that system. The air was able to push it down upon that water that was inside of it, and it fell down because no longer was there only pressure below, right? There was pressure above. Excellent. So air exerts pressure. Okay, so here is, I would say, probably my favorite one of all of these that we've done for air exerts pressure. When you say this is probably my favorite one, Kyla?
I think so.
It's the messiest one. That may be why it's my favorite.
Right.
Okay, so I am just reusing my water. Typically, I'd probably do this over the sink, but I'm trying to conserve water and keep all of this going, move it at a great pace. So I'm going to fill this glass jar all the way up. You can do this with any glass jar at home. If you're getting something out of the refrigerator and emptying it, make sure you check with Mom and Dad first. Otherwise, I get those interesting emails. Excellent. Okay, so we've got this kind of wiped out. it is full of water. Now I'm going to take a note card. It can be any old note card that I want to use. Something else that works great for this is postcards. Or if you have a bunch of old cards laying around, you could cut off the picture side. Well, either side would work, but the picture side with that glossy helps a little bit because it'll last the experiment a little bit longer. But I want to show you, if you don't have those, this will work. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to make sure the top of my jar is just a little bit wet. And then I'm going to stick this note card on there just like so. Okay, let's see how this goes. I may have to do this a couple times. Sometimes this is a little imperfect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put that over top. And when I let go, what happened? Oh my goodness, it's not falling out, is it?
No.
So what's happening is that note card, the air is pushing up against that note card, and that note card is staying on and keeping all of that water inside the jar. Okay, so again, air was exerting pressure upon that card, and so my water was not going to fall out because my water was sealed in there with that card, with that exerted air pressure. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's look over those one more time. We said that air takes up space, air has mass, air can move, or we can feel it, and air exerts pressure. Okay, so we are going to look a little bit further at this. Kind of like we'll stick that in our sink over there. We're going to have to clean up our area for just a second. We're just going to kind of throw things over in our sink area. Excellent, thank you. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at what we call Bernoulli station. And the first station that we're going to look at is the suspended balloon station. And so for the suspended balloon station, we preset it up for us so it wouldn't take us as long to get that ready. And I'll kind of move it up here so you can see what it is. If you're going to recreate this at home, you're going to need some string, just a length of string. They're going to both need to be about the same length. And you'll need 2 balloons. And you'll want to blow these 2 balloons up to where they're about the same size. Ours aren't exact, and it's okay. It won't matter for this. And then you're going to tie the strings on the end of the balloons and then suspend them on something. Or you could just have one of your family members, someone in your house, just hold those for you and for this experiment. You wouldn't necessarily have to hang them if you don't have somewhere to hang them. All right, so what's going to happen here in just a minute, Kyla is going to blow between the balloons, and we're going to see what happens. Now, Kyla, what do you think is going to happen when you blow between the balloons?
Well, of course, they're going to go apart.
You think they're going to go apart? All right, audience, what do you think, STEM thinkers and doers? Share your idea. All right, let's check it out with Kyla.
What happened there, Kyla? They came together.
Oh my goodness, they came together. Are you seeing that? They're not going apart, they're coming together. So what happened there? Well, what Kyla just discovered was that as she blew between those 2 balloons, she was blowing fast air, right? So she sped up the air between those balloons. Let me pull that over here for just a second so I can show you. And she sped up the air between the 2 balloons. And when you speed up the air between the 2 balloons, she was actually creating less pressure. And whenever on the outside, though, there was no air being sped up, right? So it was lower velocity or lower speed on the outside, which meant it was greater pressure. So what you guys just discovered in a couple of minutes is Bernoulli's Principle. And Daniel Bernoulli in 1738, he published a set of works called Hydrodynamica. And in Hydrodynamica, it was about fluid dynamics. Now, fluids, and I'm talking about air. Does that sound weird? Well, you've probably heard your doctor say, drink more fluids. And yes, liquids are fluids. But so is air. Air is a gaseous fluid. So, when he did his study, he's also talking about air and how air works. And so whenever there is a greater velocity of a fluid or air, then that there is going to be less pressure. Whenever there is lower velocity or lower speed of air, there's going to be greater pressure. So that is why my balloons came together instead of going apart. Okay, so if you're saying, wow, that was a lot to think about, well, let's experiment with 5 more things and see if it's a little bit clearer to you how that works. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to build what we call a paper bridge. And so I'm going to take 2 books. Mine just happened to be Gene Sternan's The Last Man on the Moon. And then my grandfather's clock by Dr. Jack Bacon. He was one of the researchers and scientists that originally worked on the Canada arm that we used to get to work with. And we are going to put those just a little bit apart. And then I'm going to put this piece of paper on top, just like so. Now, Kyla is going to put her mouth about right here, and she's going to blow underneath the bridge. Okay, so if you probably can't see it, but it's going down just a little bit. Now, Kyla, blow a little bit harder. Oh my goodness, did you see that? Blow harder. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then let me show you too. Do you see how that bridge went down? Now, we were blowing underneath that paper, but the bridge went down. Why is that? Well, again, we sped up the air underneath the bridge, so that created lower pressure. We know that because of Bernoulli's Principle, of Daniel Bernoulli. And so because we sped up that air, it was lower pressure below the paper. Above the paper, we weren't blowing across it, right? So it was slower air, lower velocity air, and it had greater pressure, so it pushed that bridge down. Excellent. All right, so we've got 2 down. Okay, Kyla, are you ready? This is called the Ping Pong Ball Cup Challenge. And the goal is that you want to try to get your ball out of this cup. So these are just regular cups. You just need 2 cups of the same size and a ping pong ball. And we're going to blow as hard as we can to try to get it out of this cup and into the other one. Are you ready? Right, let's go. Oh, I got mine out. Now, have you noticed that I've been getting mine out every single time and Kyla's been struggling? Well, there's a difference in how we're blowing. Did you know that, Miss Kyla? I did. So Kyla is blowing straight down into the cup, and she's trying to get underneath it, aren't you? Right. Because she thinks that going underneath, if she can just get that air underneath there, that it's going to eject it. So did it work? No. It did not work. So what I was doing is I was blowing, now I kind of know the secret, you know. Right. I was blowing across the top of that ball. And when I blew across the top of that ball, I was creating lower air pressure below or above the ball. Sorry, I was creating lower air pressure above the ball because I had greater velocity or greater speed of air with me blowing across the top. That then, what that meant was underneath the ball, just directly underneath the ball, there was lower air pressure, and so there was, lower speed of air, which meant greater pressure. And so that greater pressure underneath the ball ejected it out of the cup. And if you get good enough, you can get it to land in the other cup. So again, blowing across the top created faster air, faster velocity air, but lower pressure, which meant below the ball, there was lower velocity air and greater pressure. I finished! I think I win. I think you do. You're going to have to buy me lunch today. Oh, I guess so. All right, so now we've gotten our 3rd challenge done. Let's look at this one right quick. This is our straw cans with, our straws with cans. And what we have is about 20 straws. They're about a centimeter apart, not quite. And we're just going to stick these cans just a little bit apart. And then Kyla's going to go down where her chin is about there on the counter. And she's going to blow in between the cans. I think you're a little low. I think so. Sorry. No, that's okay. You want to make sure you're just blowing right in between the center. Now, this is great because you guys are learning how to do this at home, too, with her. So what she's going to want to do is blow directly in between those cans. blow a little bit. You're just blowing too low.
There we go. What happened? They came together.
They came together. So when Kyla blew in between those cans, and now I'm having problems on it. Not perfect, is it? Those cans came together. So you do have to kind of get it at the right distance apart and make sure you're blowing in the right area. But what happened was when it blew just correctly between those cans, when I was blowing that faster air, which had lower pressure, the slower air on the outside, which had greater pressure, pulled those cans together. So pulled those cans together. So again, Bernoulli's principle. Excellent. Okay, so now let's do hoverball. So for hoverball, you need a bendy straw. This must be bendy for this one. So on the cans that we just did, you'd want those to be straight straws. For this one, you want to be bendy. On the bendy side, I'm going to try, do you have a ping pong ball? I do. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we are going to, both Kyla and I are going to try to blow and keep this up. Oh my goodness. So what happened? I'll let Kyla do it while I talk. So Kyla's keeping it up there, isn't she? So what's going on is she is blowing faster air below that balloon. And that's creating, or below that ball, that ping pong ball, which is creating lower pressure below that ping pong ball. Above the ping pong ball, there's no moving air, right? Which is creating greater pressure. So that ping pong ball is suspended between the lower pressure and the higher pressure of air, which allows it to just kind of sit there suspended. So excellent. Really quickly, I'm going to show you this number 6, which is the funnel challenge. And what it is you just put a ping pong ball inside of a funnel and you blow. And what happens, as long as I'm blowing, is that ball stays inside there and it just spins. You probably heard that sound. That was the sound of the ball spinning. Let me see if I can do it where you can kind of see. And that ball just spins in there. Well, what's happening is I'm blowing air on the bottom. That's creating a faster velocity or a faster air speed underneath the ball, which is lower pressure, as we know from Bernoulli's principle. Then above the ping pong ball, there is no air being blown, right? And so that pressure is greater. So it's pushing, trying to keep the ball in, and we're trying to blow it out. And so it just kind of suspends, again, the ball in there, and it spins, and it makes that sound. Okay, so really quickly, we're not going to go step by step with this on you, but we're going to kind of show you something that we made earlier on our Facebook Live demonstrations on our NASA OKSG STEM Engagement Facebook page. And those were called Paper Bag Airfoil Math. And so what I did was I just took this awesome paper bag, and I figured out where my mouth would hit, and I cut a rectangle out of it. And then with my incredible artistic skills, I drew a face. Now you could draw an astronaut face, a pilot face. You might even draw an animal, whatever you think would be great. And then we just took a piece of paper, and I'll show you this piece of paper. And ours kind of got bent because it was from earlier. But you're going to put a piece of tape on the end of that paper. And then on the inside of the bag, and again, this paper bag, you just want to make sure it's something that will fit comfortably over your head. And we are going to put that tape in there just like so. So when I do that, you see how I taped it on there? Hopefully you can see that. Our screen's kind of small and hard to see. And then the tongue goes in just like that. So it's like you've created a tongue for your paper bag mask. So now Kyla is going to stick this over her head. And she is going to blow across that tongue. Oh my goodness, now what's happening? So as Kyla blows across the top of that piece of paper, she is creating a faster speed of air or a faster velocity of air, which is creating lower pressure above the paper. Below the paper, it's a slower velocity of air or a lower speed of air. And as a result of that, it's creating greater pressure underneath. Go ahead and blow across. Creating greater pressure, and that pressure is pushing that up or lifting what we call call lifting up that piece of paper and creating lift, which is why our airplanes work the way they do, right? So it has to do with the shape of the wing, but Bernoulli's principle plays into that. And we're able to create greater pressure below the wing than is above the wing by speeding up air across the wing and having that slower air below the wing. And that creates what we call lift. Excellent. Thank you, Kyla. You have been an excellent experimenting buddy with me today. So, guys, I hope you've had a great time learning with us some of the properties of air. We learned that air takes up space, that air has mass, and air can move or we can feel it, and also air exerts pressure. Then we also looked at Bernoulli's principle and the idea of wherever there is a faster velocity air, that creates a lower pressure, and wherever there's a slower velocity air, that creates greater pressure. And we looked at an airfoil that kind of gave us a glimpse into how we are able to get lift out of a wing. Now, if you want to see exactly how a wing works, please join us on our NASA OKSG STEM Engagement Facebook page tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And we're going to build a wing on a string. And then we're going to carry that over on Friday by adding paper clips and looking at zeroing out lift. Well, I have had just a STEM-tastic time with each of you today, and we hope that you keep doing these demonstrations at home, learning together as learners of all ages, and until we see you next time, race you to the moon.